Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something that's probably pretty familiar to a lot of you, especially if you live in a city or travel frequently. We're going to be talking all about navigating public transportation. But we're going to do it with a bit of a twist, focusing on how you can use those everyday journeys to actually improve your English.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be diving into a really comprehensive guide aptly named Navigating Public Transportation, which is a great overview of the whole process. And we're also going to be incorporating some real-world insights from Sophia and Alex, the hosts of the English Chat Lab podcast. They've got some really cool tips on how to make those everyday experiences into learning opportunities.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening out there, our mission today is to arm you with the English language skills and the confidence to hop on buses, trains, even hail a taxi in any English-speaking environment without feeling lost or intimidated. We really want you to have those aha moments as you grasp those key phrases and vocabulary.
And it's not just about getting from point A to point B, right? It's about the whole experience. Public transportation can be a fantastic way to get a taste of the local culture, hear the language being spoken around you, and really gain a sense of independence as you explore new places.
Okay, let's jump right in, starting with one of the most common modes of transport, especially in urban areas, the bus. Now, when you're in a new city, figuring out bus routes and schedules can sometimes feel a bit overwhelming, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I can definitely see how that could be a bit daunting at first. But the good news is that most cities these days have really user-friendly websites where you can find detailed bus maps and schedules. They're usually run by the local transportation authority, so just do a quick search online and you should find what you need. You can also often find printed versions of these maps at major bus stations or transit centers.
And for those of us who are a bit more tech savvy,
Mm-hmm.
are there any apps that can make this whole process a bit easier?
Oh, absolutely. There are some amazing apps out there like Google Maps and City Mapper, which have become indispensable for navigating public transport. They give you real-time information on bus locations, arrival times, any delays, and even alternative routes if there's a disruption. They can be real lifesavers when you're trying to get around efficiently.
I can definitely vouch for that. I use those apps all the time. So let's say you've figured out the route, you know which bus number you're looking for. How do you make sure you're getting on the right bus when it pulls up at the stop?
The key is to pay attention to the display on the front of the bus. Most buses will have a digital sign indicating the bus number and its final destination. So you might see something like Bus 25 downtown, which tells you exactly where that particular bus is headed.
Right, so you're at the bus stop, a bus pulls up that seems like it might be the one, but you want to double check? What's a good way to do that without feeling awkward?
A simple and polite question you can ask the driver, or even someone else waiting at the stop, is, does this bus go to? And then you just fill in the blank with your destination. Like, does this bus go to the train station? Or does this bus go to the university?
Easy enough. And what if you're completely lost? You don't even know where the bus stop for your destination is.
In that case, you could ask someone, where's the bus stop for? So if you're trying to get to the airport, you'd say, where's the bus stop for the airport?
Makes sense. Now let's talk a little bit about some key vocabulary related to bus travel that you might hear or need to use.
Okay, great. The first word that comes to mind is schedule, which refers to the timetable that tells you when buses are expected to arrive and depart from a particular stop. You might ask someone, what's the schedule for bus 25 today? Or, could you tell me the schedule for buses going to the city center? Another important word is fare, which simply means the price of the bus ticket. You might ask, what's the fare to get downtown? Or, how much does it cost to get to the museum by bus? And finally, transfer. This refers to a ticket that lets you switch from one bus to another without having to pay a separate fare. You might ask, do I need a transfer to get to the zoo? Or is this ticket valid for transfers?
Those are definitely essential terms to know.
Yeah.
Now, paying for the bus can sometimes be a bit confusing, especially if you're in a new place. What are the different ways you can usually pay?
Yeah, it can vary a bit depending on the city and the bus system. The best thing to do is simply ask the driver, how do I pay for the bus? Or, do you accept cash or card? Many buses these days have automated machines where you can insert coins or bills, or you can tap a contactless card. And if you plan to use the bus a lot, it's often a good idea to check if the city offers bus passes or reloadable travel cards. These can often save you money in the long run and make boarding quicker and easier.
All right, so we've covered the basics of bus travel. Let's move on to trains. Now, train systems, they can be quite different depending on where you are in the world.
Oh, absolutely. Some cities have incredibly complex train networks, while others are a bit more straightforward. It's helpful to have a general understanding of the different types of train systems you might encounter. So there's the subway, which is sometimes called the metro or the underground. It's usually an electric train system that runs mostly underground within a city. Then there are commuter trains, which typically connect a city center to the suburbs or surrounding towns. And then you have intercity or high-speed trains, which are designed for traveling longer distances between different cities or even different countries.
Knowing the difference between those types can definitely make things less confusing. So imagine you're at a train station, maybe a big one with lots of platforms. How do you find your way around and make sure you're heading in the right direction?
The first thing I would look for is a train map. Most stations will have large, clear maps displayed, often near the entrance or ticket counters. They'll show you all the different train lines, the stations they stop at, and their general directions. You can also often find these maps online, which can be helpful for planning your journey in advance. It's also really important to remember that different platforms usually correspond to trains going in specific directions or belonging to particular lines, so make sure you double check the signs above the platforms to ensure you're waiting in the right spot.
And if you're in a really bustling station and feeling a bit lost,
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Station staff are usually very friendly and happy to point you in the right direction. You can say something like, "Excuse me, which platform do I need for trains going to?" Or, if you need more general help, you could ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to?"
great. And what are some essential vocabulary words related to train travel that our listeners should know?
Platform is the first one that comes to mind, which is, of course, the area where you wait for the train to arrive. You might hear an announcement like, "The train to Edinburgh will be departing from platform 5 in approximately 10 minutes." Then there's timetable, which is the schedule that tells you when trains are scheduled to arrive and depart. You might ask someone, "Could you please show me the timetable for trains to Manchester?" And then express train refers to a train that makes fewer stops than regular trains, so it's usually a faster way to get to your destination. You might ask, "Is this the express train to the airport?"
Super helpful. Any other tips for train travel that you think our listeners should keep in mind?
I would always recommend double checking that you're getting on the right train, even if you're fairly certain. It's better to be safe than sorry. A quick question like, "Excuse me, is this the train to?" can save you a lot of hassle later. Also, be aware that trains, especially during rush hour, can get incredibly crowded. So if you're traveling at peak times, just be prepared for a bit of a squeeze.
Good point. Now, sometimes public transport like buses and trains might not be the most convenient option, or maybe you prefer a more direct route. That's where taxis and rideshare services come in.
Exactly. When you want to take a taxi, you can usually hail one on the street if you see one with its light on, indicating it's available. You can also look for taxi ranks or stands, which are designated areas where taxis wait for passengers. These are often found near train stations, airports, or other busy locations. Once you're in the taxi, the key phrase is, "Take me to," followed by your destination. For example, "Take me to the National Museum, please."
And with the rise of rideshare apps like Uber and Lyft, how do you make sure you're getting into the right car and communicating effectively with the driver in English?
Yeah, rideshare apps are becoming increasingly popular, and they're often a very convenient way to get around. When you use these apps, you'll typically enter your destination directly into the app, and it will match you with a nearby driver. When the driver arrives, it's always a good idea to confirm that you're getting into the right car. You can simply ask the driver, "Are you here for your name?" Or, "Are you going to your destination?" This just helps avoid any misunderstandings.
What if you need to give the driver more specific instructions during the ride? maybe about where to drop you off or if you want to make a quick stop.
Sure, if you have a specific drop-off point in mind, you can say, "Can you please drop me off at?" So you might say, "Can you please drop me off at the main entrance of the hotel?" Or if you need to make a quick stop along the way, you could ask, "Can we stop at?" For example, "Can we stop at the supermarket on the next block?"
Those are handy phrases. Let's build our taxi and rideshare vocabulary a bit further. What are some other useful words to know?
The word meter is specific to traditional taxis, and it refers to the device that calculates the fare based on the distance traveled and the time taken. You might hear the driver say, "The meter is running" at the start of your journey. Fare, of course, is the cost of the ride. You might ask at the end, "How much is the fare, please?" And drop-off point refers to the specific location where you want the driver to leave you. So you might say, "My drop-off point is just past the traffic lights on the left."
Tipping etiquette can also be a bit tricky, as it really varies depending on the culture and the type of service. What's the best way to approach tipping when using taxis and ride shares in an English-speaking environment?
It's perfectly okay to ask about tipping customs. You could ask the driver, "What's the usual tip for a taxi ride here?" Or, "Is tipping expected for rideshares in this city?" Keep in mind that with many rideshare apps, you'll have the option to add a tip electronically through the app after your ride. But it never hurts to clarify.
So far, we've been focusing on specific modes of transport. But what if you're just walking around exploring a new area and you're not quite sure how to get somewhere? What are some good phrases to use when asking for directions?
Asking for directions is an essential skill when you're traveling. The most common way to ask is simply, "How do I get to?" followed by the place you're trying to find. For example, "Excuse me, how do I get to the Central Park from here?" If you're looking for something that might be nearby, you can ask, "Where is the nearest?" Excuse me, "Where is the nearest ATM?" or "Where is the nearest pharmacy?"
And what's the most polite way to start a conversation when asking someone for directions?
Always start with, "Excuse me." It's just a simple courtesy that shows you respect their time and makes them more likely to want to help you. So you might say, "Excuse me, could you please tell me how to get to the art museum?"
Now, once someone starts giving you directions, what are some common phrases you might hear them use?
You'll often hear distances given in blocks like, "It's about 2 blocks down this street," meaning you should walk straight ahead for the equivalent of 2 city blocks. For turns, they might say, "Take the next left," or "Turn right at the traffic lights." And if the place you're looking for is very close, they might say, "It's just around the corner."
It's helpful to visualize those directions in your mind as you hear them. Is there a good way to make sure you've understood everything correctly?
Absolutely. Don't hesitate to repeat the directions back to the person to confirm that you've got it right. You could say, "Okay, so I walk 2 blocks down this street, then take a left at the traffic lights. Is that right?" This gives them a chance to correct you if you've misunderstood something.
That's a great tip. Now, buying tickets, that's a crucial part of using public transportation. What are some essential English phrases to use when you're at a ticket counter or a vending machine?
The most basic phrase is simply, "One ticket to, please." For example, "One ticket to London, please," or "One ticket to the airport, please." To find out the cost, you can ask, "How much is the fare to?" For example, "How much is the fare to Oxford?" Or "How much does a ticket to the city center cost?"
And what if you need to buy multiple tickets or you want to inquire about different ticket options?
To specify the number of tickets, just say, "2 tickets to, please," "3 tickets to, please," and so on. In terms of ticket types, round trip refers to a ticket that covers both your journey to a destination and your return journey back. This is often cheaper than buying 2 single tickets. You might ask, "Do you have a round trip ticket to Brighton?" A single ticket, on the other hand, is for a one-way journey. So you might say, "I'd like a single ticket to the zoo, please."
Are there typically ways to save money on tickets, like discounts or special passes?
Oh, absolutely. Many transportation systems offer discounts for certain groups of people, like students, seniors, or children. They also often have various types of passes available for unlimited travel within a certain time period. It's always worth asking about these options. You could say, "Do you have a day pass?" Or "Is there a student discount available?" Or "Do you sell weekly passes?"
And what are some key vocabulary words to keep in mind when you're dealing with tickets?
Single ticket for a one-way journey. Round trip for a journey there and back. Discount for a reduced price. And don't hesitate to ask, what are my ticket options? Or what's the cheapest way to get to?
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in terms of how to navigate public transportation smoothly. But what about those unexpected situations that can sometimes arise? Delays, missed stops, even emergencies. How do you handle those using English?
Yeah, those situations can definitely be stressful, especially if you're in a new place. The most important thing is to stay calm and know what questions to ask. If you think there might be a delay with your train or bus, you can ask a staff member or even another passenger, is this train delayed or is the bus running late? To get more information, you could ask, what's the reason for the delay? Or how long is the delay expected to be? If you have a connecting train or bus to catch, it's crucial to ask, I have a connection to, will I still be able to make it with this delay? And if the delay is significant, it's always a good idea to explore alternative options by asking, is there another way to get to?
What about the dreaded experience of accidentally missing your stop? We've all been there.
Oh, yeah, we all have. If you realize you've missed your stop, don't panic. As soon as you can, speak to a staff member and explain the situation. You could say, excuse me, I think I missed my stop. What should I do? Or could you tell me how to get back to?
And in the unfortunate event of an emergency, what are some essential phrases to know to ask for help?
In any emergency situation, it's essential to stay calm and try to get help as quickly as possible. For general assistance, you can say, can you please help me? I'm lost. Or I need assistance. Where can I find a staff member? If it's a medical emergency, you should say, I need a doctor, or please call an ambulance. And if you need to evacuate quickly, you would ask, where is the emergency exit? Or how do I get out of here?
Those are absolutely crucial phrases to know. What about some essential vocabulary related to these types of issues?
Right. Delay refers to a service running behind schedule. Cancellation means a service has been stopped and won't be running. An emergency exit is the designated route for leaving a building or vehicle quickly in an emergency situation. It's also extremely important to know the local emergency telephone number. In many countries, it's 911, but in other places it might be different, like 999 in the UK or 112 in many European countries. Don't hesitate to ask someone if you're not sure. And of course, never hesitate to ask for help if you're feeling unsafe or unsure about what to do.
This has been so informative. But you know what? We actually received some fantastic tips from our listeners about their own personal strategies for navigating public transportation while using English.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing about those real-world tips from people who are out there doing it every day. What kind of things did they suggest?
Well, Maria had a great tip about using translation apps on your smartphone. She said she finds them really helpful if she needs to communicate with a bus driver or ticket seller and isn't sure how to say something in English. It can really help bridge that communication gap.
That's a brilliant idea. Those translation apps have become so advanced that they can be incredibly helpful in those kinds of situations. What other tips did people share?
Ahmed shared that he carries a small notebook with him where he's written down key English phrases related to travel and transportation. He said if he ever gets nervous or forgets how to say something, he can just show someone his notebook. It's a simple but effective solution.
I love that. Sometimes the simplest strategies are the most reassuring. It takes away that pressure of having to remember everything perfectly.
Lisa had a great tip, too. She said she always takes photos of the public transportation schedules with her phone so she can easily refer to them, even if she doesn't have internet access. It's all about being prepared.
That is so smart. It's those little things that can make such a big difference when you're traveling.
Carlos shared that he uses his commute as an opportunity to practice his English listening skills. He tries to pay close attention to announcements made on buses and trains, and even tries to repeat some of the phrases to himself.
That's a fantastic way to passively improve your listening comprehension and pronunciation. You're surrounded by the language in a natural setting, so it's a great way to pick things up.
And finally, Anna emphasized something that's so important but often overlooked: the power of politeness. She said that simply smiling and saying thank you can go a long way in making interactions more positive and making people more willing to help you if you need it.
She's absolutely right. A little bit of courtesy can really make a huge difference, especially when you're in a new place and might need a little extra assistance. It shows people that you're trying and that you appreciate their help.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's recap the key points we've covered. We've talked about how to confidently navigate buses, trains, and taxis or ride shares using English. We've learned essential phrases for asking for directions, buying tickets, and dealing with those unexpected travel hiccups that can sometimes happen.
And the biggest takeaway, I think, is that a little preparation can really go a long way in making your journey smoother and less stressful. Knowing some basic phrases, familiarizing yourself with common vocabulary, and having a few handy apps or resources can boost your confidence immensely. Remember, if things don't go exactly according to plan, don't panic. Just stay calm and don't be afraid to ask for help. Most people are genuinely happy to assist.
Couldn't agree more. And the best way to truly become comfortable using English in these situations is to practice. So we encourage all of you listening to embrace those opportunities to use public transport, put your English skills to the test, and see how much you can learn and grow from those everyday experiences.
Think of it this way. Public transportation systems are like these fascinating microcosms of society, always in motion. By learning to navigate them effectively in English, you're not just mastering the logistics of getting around, you're opening up a whole new world of human interaction, cultural immersion, and potentially even unexpected adventures. Who knows what you might discover on your next ride?
That's a great way to put it. And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive and happy travels.
Thanks, everyone.